Hey everyone, how you doing today? Thought I would do another update on this Star Trek ship. And I don't normally do videos on Saturdays, but I'm kind of excited. I put a lot of time into it yesterday. This is an old version here that you're looking at. Well, I just want to show you some of the things I ran into and some of the changes along the way, and then I'll show you the latest version here. This I showed few days ago, I think, on one of the update videos. And then a big problem was these nacelle thrusters were going to run right into the saucer part of the ship, and they need to be above it. As I kind of looked that up, and yeah, they need to be above it. So I made a modification to the next one over here, and I raised those up a little bit. But then I had a big issue with the extension arms that go to the nacelles. They were too tall and skinny, and I wanted to try to change the angle of them, and because they're so tall. And then I got a comment after showing this version of the ship, and it was basically like lower the saucer down, and then you could lower the nacelles down as well, and kind of bring those in. And I was like, you know what? That is exactly what is wrong with this. This neck is too big, or basically like make the neck shorter. And then it would kind of like fix all those weird problems with the too long of the arms here, and it looks a little too tall. So beyond that too, I started thinking about the size of the saucer again, and some general appearances on it and things like that. And I'm like, you know what? It needs to be bigger too. I think proportionally speaking, the saucer is too small for the rest of the ship. So what I ended up doing, going on to the next version in just a second here, is I sliced the entire thing in half here, one block away from the center. So I did a copy paste on that side, copy paste on this side, and then I went about here, and I copied the whole back section of this and brought it back another 2 blocks, making the saucer 2 blocks bigger that way as well. So it just got bigger. But then I was looking at this central area here, and I'm like, yeah, it doesn't look quite right. Most of these Star Trek ships have some kind of, a round kind of structure here. Next version. So this one is new. So I didn't show you this one, but this is not the newest version. Just talk about a lot of modifications. One last thing too is I had large thrusters over here, and I kind of wanted accels. I didn't really want to run any large thrusters on this ship. So I made a modification there. But first, the saucer is bigger. I changed the central area here some. Everything got spread out a little bit more, which is kind of neat. It helped a little bit, I think, with some of the trying to curve some things in this area a little bit. I was able to use some different blocks because of it, stuff like that. And I thought the general shape of the saucer now, well, or the general size of the saucer was better. And then the nacelles got all rearranged and moved. So now they have perfect line of sight. It's 1 block above where this turret would pop out of, and yeah, that's cool. Plus the nacelles also got longer, and I got my second lift thruster in here. So now it's got 4 forward XL thrusters and 4 lift XL thrusters, and then 2 XL thrusters per all other directions. So I got to this point, and I made a lot of other little body mods and stuff, and I was kind of looking at these arms yet, and I'm like, yeah, they're still a little bit thin. But what really was bugging me is the hanger back here. Is like, I got this thing for any of these kind of like CVs. I really like to have a minimum of 5x9 hanger door. I got a lot of creations that need that, and this one couldn't fit it. It wasn't wide enough, and I was just looking at ways, and it's like, I like this cut in over here on the body with the windows and stuff, and I didn't really want to get rid of that. But if I did get rid of that, then I could make the hanger a little wider. It was kind of like one of those things, and it was like, what do I do about this? Well, anyway, let's go to the latest version. Latest version got a little bit bigger yet. I had to kind of scale it up some more here. So what happened here is I decided to cut the entire ship down the middle and copied it out 1 block per side of the center again and pasted it, and then had to like rebuild the entire line all the way through the ship. But what that got me was again a little bit bigger saucer area again, a little bit more room inside the ship, and this whole area down here is a couple blocks wider. Although I preserved the original circle that was here, or this the round feature. I didn't distort that with the width. I just kind of like beveled it out more over here and widen this entire structure. And that allowed me to get in my 5x9 hangar door. And I also can put in like these guys in front of it, which is kind of cool. I'm not done with this area yet. I'm just kind of like started working on it. And then also ramps work. But then I had to get landing gear on this thing. And I'm not entirely happy with my setup, and it could change, but there's only appears to be this one model landing gear that can come down as far as I need it to, especially in the back because it kind of slants up in the back area. So when these retract, they kind of hide themselves behind this little blocky thing here, which I'm not particularly liking. But it does land. It does land just fine, and it balances fine. And you can roll in HVs on this if it's on the ground. So that's I'm pretty happy with that. And I was just kind of testing the how big the landing pad zone is, and it can fit a ship about the size of the Merc Infiltrator, which is I don't know medium size. Medium. It's kind of large. It takes up a lot of space really. But I've seen bigger SVs. But yeah, that's how big it is. I think that's decent enough. You could probably park a couple smaller SVs side by side on here, and then park a couple HVs I can fit in a 5x9 hangar door in the back here. So then I started getting into some other things here. I thickened up these arms a little bit more. It's a little bit more blocky on the sides again. I did a couple little doodads in other places of the body. Then I worked on the lower section of the saucer and kind of redid a lot of the block work out in this area. I decided to add in some different weapon systems here too, which I kind of got working now. I'll show you that in just a second. But it's kind of it's pretty smooth. I didn't do any like block stuff on any of these over here. I'll probably add in some little doodads of detail stuff at some point here, but I don't want to like overdo it. I know the actual Star Trek ships are a pretty smooth ship. I didn't want to like go overboard and try to like add in too many little doodads there. I don't mind it how it is kind of like smooth and rounded right now too. It sort of works for this kind of ship. But what I was really happy about after all these changes in specs, you know, when you start to look at it from different angles, like the front-on view and stuff like that, it's really starting to feel good. So I'm kind of a little giddy about it. It's you know, the side profiles coming in a whole lot better. It looks a lot better from the top. I made a lot of changes to the back of this bridge area as well. I did add in like a little door stairway that would go into the ship over here for whatever reason. I split these windows apart over here, but this whole area is wider than it used to be in the first place. Then I'm also quite pleased with, well, I gotta work on the tips of these nacelles yet on these sides. I don't like what I got going on there, but most all the thrusters here are, well, I think all the thrusters are behind these metal things here. And I didn't want the thrusters highly visible. You know, I wanted to really keep them kind of hidden away. But at the end of the day, all of them have a good line of sight. None of them are blocked. All of them are like open air, at least with these. These are the open air grates, which is a legit thing to do. So I'm not blocking any thrusters. I'm not, you know, and I hid them. I mean, literally about as best as I could here. And I'm really happy that, you know, at first you might think like the nacelles on a ship like this in Empyrion would be like a big waste of space, but honestly, this works out perfect because all these thrusters are out over here, away from the inside of the ship. And if you think about it, I've got, actually, well, you should tell me that, right? 1 second. How many thrusters are in you? So we got 2, 4, 8, 10, 16 XL thrusters in here. And, you don't really see many for the most part. I mean, you see them if you look. Obviously, I can't completely hide them. That would be you shouldn't do that in the game. You know, block thrusters and things like that. Well, anyway, moving on here. Let's take a look at some weapon systems here. So I got to flip a couple of these blast doors, and I'm not sure. I have not tested to see if these weapons will fire through the blast doors. Could be a thing. If it is a thing, I don't have to have the blast doors. So it's just kind of neat. But if it doesn't work, I can remove them and still be fine. But let's go here, and let me first turn on the laser cannons. So the ship has 4 of these laser cannons kind of built into this section here, and the blast doors open up. All these I've been sealing these off with like Xeno inner linings around all these guns, and the guns are separated by a block apiece too, a little bit recessed with a blast door in front of them. That's those 4. But that also, when I hit that switch, opened up these 4 here too, which are also behind blast doors and a ramp, I guess. So you got 8 laser cannons. Now I don't know if that particular weapon's going to stay there. I mean, there's a lot of other weapons and stuff like that in the game. I'm just kind of setting these things up right now to get these launchers in place. And then in this area, I know in the real ships, this is like kind of like some kind of intake. In Empyrion, it is a frontal area that I can put stuff in and hide, which is wonderful. Don't mind these little white things over here. What I got right now for a plan, and I'm going to have to figure out how to exactly make the LCD, but you can have an LCD up to 5x5, which would fit perfect in here, and I kind of wanted to create a really roundy looking LCD that with kind of a pinwheel kind of, well, like a bunch of spokes kind of coming in, or basically something like what you would see on the the ships in the shows, and then I could put that right over the top of all this just fine, and that I think that could be kind of neat in the end. I could put the LCD behind here somewhere so it just not sitting on the top. And I think that would be a really neat thing. I just got to figure out. I know this is the rotate command when you're making LCDs. It'll be a tricky LCD to figure out. Might have to look up some math, to get the angles right, stuff like that. But I will attempt that before this is done. But anyway, artillery cannons. So I did cut down the blast doors by a whole lot from what it was, and this is Xenoblock and the rest of it. So you got 8 artillery cannons here that kind of come on in this formation here, that just pop up underneath the blast doors. So that's kind of working. So that gives you 8 laser cannons and 8 artillery cannons. Now in this section over here, if you wanted to pop in more in this location, these 4 locations, you could dump in another 4, really. So you could have 12 here if you really wanted. So that's a thing. And then the rest of the guns, let me get those out. So it's got quite a few turrets on here too, all retractable on this design. So on the lower side of the saucer, it's kind of set up like this. Everyone's got a line of sight forward. Most of them have a line of sight going to the side. Well, it depends. But yeah, definitely forward. And then you've got the turrets on the top side of the saucer. I got a couple of them pointing backwards. I got this one kind of in the central area, kind of like over the landing pad. I hope these little thin blocks I got here don't screw with it. I'll have to see. But I got to flip that one around. And then I got a couple more kind of down over here off the back. And this is basically if you're running away and there's some drones screwing with you. So I don't plan on putting powerful turrets on the back. And those positron turrets seem to be a thing. So that might be added in here. Again, I don't know how crazy I want this to be. Now, taking a look at specs. Right now, I've got 2 large generators, or the 5 or 2x2x5, or I'm sorry, 6 generators in here, and it's got enough power to fly just fine. It doesn't have a shield in it, doesn't have a warp core in it, it's not firing any guns, doesn't have any production going on. It'll probably need a third. Now, it was brought up in comments, where am I going to fit, the great big reactor, and it's like, well, to be honest, I don't need it. I think I'd only want to put that in a ship if I needed to have four or like up to like four of these big generators. And I could probably actually get by with the two of these and maybe 2 to 4 of the little dinky ones, which are a lot easier to fit because I would really have a hard time fitting that gigantic piece in this ship. It would be quite disruptive. It might look neat, but I don't really have a good spot to put it unless it goes down in the hangar, which would really cut off the amount of space you'd get in the hangar. I'd have to and I'd honestly, I'd build up a couple walls behind these artillery turrets and then place the thing like facing this way, which would take up a bunch of space. And that's really about the only way I could think to do it. Now, what I was kind of messing with here is a central elevator, and it actually works too. And that is something else I wanted to do before I got into everything. I'm just trying to get all these little things to work out. So this elevator goes all the way to the hangar floor, all the way up to the bridge, and all the rooms in between. So the bridge space is fairly, well, I wouldn't say necessarily the bridge, the saucer. It's got a decent amount of room in it now, so I think I can have some fun with this. I'm going to be sealing a lot of this stuff off with like Xeno blocks around the front side of this. Now, one thing this does not have is a first-person cockpit view. It could. There's pros and cons. Cons, obviously, kind of weaker. I'd have to make the area kind of like weaker, probably out in this section somewhere, and con number 2 is the glass, the windows. If I try to follow it around these curves, I can't use the fancy glass. If I just did like a little fancy glass thing here, let me turn the light off now. It's so clear I can't see. But if I just did the fancy glass here at an angle, yeah, you could do something like that. That could work. I could maybe glass it off a little bit more. Now, a con to that, though, is it kind of reveals its scale. And that's, like right now, if you look at it, there's nothing to really place a lot of scale to it. You look at this and you think, yeah, it's pretty big, blah, blah, blah. If I put that window in there, it's going to make the whole thing look smaller. Now, I do have windows elsewhere in the ship, but I don't think they were too disruptive. With like the scaling part, and it's also using the fancy glass rounded windows, and I can't really do that up here. So yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking about it. I mean, I would like to have a first-person pilot seat, so you don't have to fly this in third person full time, and it can do it. It's just yeah, it's going to be like a bit of a trade-off, I think, on visuals if I did do it, and a little bit on strength. So it would be kind of a couple side effects there, but I'll try to figure something out. Or if not, maybe even, well, then I'd have to hollow this out. But I guess I could still make it tough and make some kind of temporary pilot room up here somewhere that could be destroyed, and then you'd actually be piloting the ship somewhere else. I don't exactly know where that's going to be yet. I mean, of course, I'd love to kind of have like this central setup here. And I tell you what, if you could put like a camera on the ship and then put stuff on screen, oh man, that would be so cool. That would be like amazing. It would be perfect for a ship like this. I mean, just perfect. You could sit up there, and especially if you could put more than one camera, you could have like a camera that's mounted way back there and a forward camera and active radar on the screen, and you'd fly the ship using the screen from a first-person view inside. Oh, God. Imagine that. Wouldn't that be amazing? Anyway, can't do that, so I should quit dreaming. Anyway, that's pretty much where I'm at. Now let's look at here. Actually, what I should do is take it for a flight in a minute. Here, I do have to go to... So right now, it flies. Now, it's going to get heavier, so it's going to slow down from where it is some more. But it flies pretty good. It turns pretty good. Granted, it's a hardened steel hull with some little trimmy blocks that are carbon on that, and then it's kind of got a Xeno backing layer. Not much of it yet. I got to add a lot more Xeno to it and stuff like that. behind that, because I can't really keep the Xeno exposed because you can't texture that or anything appropriate to what I'm trying to do here, at least. So yeah, and it maneuvers pretty good. Looking at the specs, it's got 59 forward thrusts and 59 lift thrusts, and then 30 on all of the directions. And that's with 16 XL thrusters on here. Okay, so now the CPU. Now, keep in mind, I do have all those launchers installed right now, and I don't have all the CPU core blocks and stuff needed. The CPU, I mean, this ship is screaming for some auxiliary quantum core kind of thing. It really is. It depends what I keep it stock armed with. Like, if I stripped it with most of its weapons and things like that, and had you upgrade that after you get the ship, maybe I could keep it not using a quantum core or auxiliary core or something like that. Maybe, but here's the big problem I got is retractable turrets. I want the retractable turrets because look how not Star Trek-y that looks. And then, if I if I retract them, it just, oh, there we go. It really cleans that up. It looks way better. That's why I want to use retractable turrets. But if I remove the retractable turret, then my only option is to fill it in with filler blocks, which kind of sucks. And then I'd have to indicate where you're supposed to put a retractable turret after you remove the blocks for it. And so it's kind of a little bit rough there. I'm not sure, on other creations, I normally don't mind having the turrets, just I actually prefer not using the retractable turrets for most creations. But in this case, I really want that smoothness. I really don't want it to look like it's plastered with turrets everywhere in normal flight mode. But then it's kind of surprising when you do get the turrets out because there's a fair amount of them. I mean, I've seen a lot more on a ship, but yeah. Anyway, that is where I'm at with the ship. It's got pretty high CPU right now. It's got all those launchers in it. I don't know if all those launchers are necessary. I just, with a combat type of ships, I prefer ships that have launchers or, stuff like that. So, I mean, you have more interaction in the game then. You're flying around. You're trying to line up your shot. You're firing at what you want to fire at. Stuff like that. A ship that relies purely on just turrets shooting everywhere, I find kind of unenthusing in combat. It's pretty much you just spin around in a circle or fly around and just do flybys, and everything else is automated. This way you get some interaction, and not to mention a lot of these turrets can do some pretty serious damage. I don't know exactly what I don't think there's that many turrets in the game, but there's probably some other ones too, or upgrades even for these, who knows. But I think there was a maximum allowed, I don't know if it was 10 quantum cores or something like that in Reforged Eden now, which I'm glad there's kind of a cap. Otherwise you could just go on forever and build insane stuff that'll kill the server. So hopefully that helps. And I think, with some quantum cores and stuff, the CPU is not going to break the bank. I've seen ships with a lot higher CPU than this that can operate in game with enough CPU. So I don't think that'll be too bad. Obviously, the CPU is going to go up when I add a warp core and shield, and probably shield components and stuff to toughen it up, things like that. So I don't think I would ever need more than 3 big generators, though. I think that would cap it out. So I don't really plan on putting in the really big one. Not in this ship. Some future ship, someday probably, but that is for extreme power. I don't need that much. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Just wanted to show you this. Might be jumping on the Anvil server in a bit here and trying to progress a little bit further. Anyway, adios.